Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Look, I want to do something just a little bit different. This video here today is something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and it's something I really want to share with you guys, and it's all about inspiration when it comes to your photography. And this really doesn't matter where you are on your journey, whether you're a complete beginner or a seasoned pro. I think this is something that we're all going to be able to relate to, and like I said, it's just something that I've been going through lately and I want to share with you guys. So I've just released a big collection of new images on my website, and for the past many years now, typically what I like to do is I'm always shooting year round, and every 3 to 6 months I'll release a big collection of the images which I'll be making. And of course on the YouTube channel here you do get an insight as I go on what I'm up to, and even some of the new images you get to see those in advance as I'm creating them and sharing that journey on YouTube. Now, all of us with our photography, we might have different ways of creating, whether we like to do what I'm doing or you're trying to turn out a new image every week. It's totally up to you. That's the fun part. Now, one thing I've found over the years, when you first start out on your photography path, everything is new, everything is exciting, and you are at the bottom when it comes to knowledge, the technical and both the creative side of photography. And it's a little bit overwhelming because there's so much information out there and there's so much that you want to learn. Now, when you're at that beginning stage of your journey, one of the benefits, although there's this mountain in front of you which you're trying to conquer and you're trying to really understand photography and get better at it, the benefit is the fact that the progression rate comes much faster when you're a beginner, because there is so much more to learn, and everything that you're learning can come in these small incremental steps, and it's quite easy to do one after the other. You could learn about ISO, then you're learning about aperture, shutter speed, camera gear, different lenses, what locations you like. The list goes on and on and on. Now, eventually, when you get to the position that I'm in, I've been a full-time professional landscape photographer for almost a decade now, solely providing for my family off my photography. And prior to that, I was an enthusiast for maybe about 2.5, 3 years. So for almost 15 years now, photography has just been everything to me, and I'm so fortunate to be able to say that. Now, one thing I've learned though, all this time and all these years, and I've really felt it just come right to a bit of a pivotal point lately as I've gone to kind of create new work and release some new images, is the fact that we can, in our photography, and it doesn't matter if you are that beginner or you've been doing it as long as I have or even longer, it can be very overwhelming, guys, to always be striving for the next thing. Always trying to get the better image, the best location. Maybe it's gear that you're thinking about, editing software, you name it. And the position that I'm in, the thing that's always in my mind and the aspiration and goal, it's always to make my images better than they were previously. Every time I release some new work, 3 times a year or so, whatever it may be, I don't really want to look back and see that I'm just kind of doing the same thing. Now, of course, there's a similar aesthetic, but I want to be able to look and feel like I push myself. And specifically what I like to do is going to new locations. So going out in the environment, even though it's all generally here in the southwest of NZ, but it's just seeing and feeling those new places and then creating an image that kind of represents that emotion and everything like that. But the burden comes in, and the daunting part is when we preconceive ideas of what we do want to achieve, what we're trying to accomplish. And that is a normal part of life. In every aspect of life, we're always looking to the next thing. We're always aspiring to move forward, to move upwards. But when it comes to creativity, I know this is the key part that I've found, is when we do that and when I do that, one thing that can happen is the height that we're trying to get to, the goals that we have, can sometimes look so lofty, so grand, that instead of even attempting to get there, all we generally would do is look at the obstacles in the way, the potential roadblocks. So for example, for me, weather plays a massive part. The time and effort to go out and get into the remote areas is quite daunting. There might be financial sacrifices, lots of time sacrifices away from family. The list goes on and on and on. So instead of actually going out and maybe attempting certain things to create these images I have in mind, I'll often just assess everything that will have to align and come together to make that possible. And the majority of the time, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by that. And when that overwhelming feeling comes in, I really don't act upon anything at all. And when that happens, the joy for photography can really start to diminish, because the objective, the goal, starts to replace the process itself. And when that happens, very quickly you can find yourself on a bit of a downward spiral. I really encountered this recently as I think the last time I really released a lot of new work was about 6 months ago. So it's gone on a little bit longer than I'd normally leave it. And when I sat down and looked at the files that I was working on and some of the drafts, one, there wasn't many really sitting there, and two, I just wasn't really happy with what was there. I liked some of it, but I knew that, hey, like, there's nothing here that's really moving me. And the thought of trying to get out and get that new work was I just couldn't really see how I could do it. And I really kind of lost sight of why I picked up a camera in the first place. Why am I a photographer? Why have I been on this journey for all these years now? Why did photography change my life in the first place? All I'm thinking about is the final image, but that wasn't always what happened when I first started out. In fact, what happened was I just went out and had fun, and I started exploring, and I just followed my curiosity. And as I went down that path, the moments would arise, and those were the moments that I would come to cherish, and found that that's where my favorite photographs were coming from. All right, so where am I going with all this? I guess the main purpose of the video here is to encourage you guys that wherever you're at on your photography journey, I want you to really embrace where you are now and know that there is no end goal here in photography. There is no end goal in art. Because whenever you get to that next point that you might be striving toward, you will probably never be completely content. You'll always, most likely, naturally be looking at what's ahead. And I've really had to, focus on that recently and realize that it's not about always looking ahead. When it comes to photography, it's actually just about being in the moment and getting yourself into those moments, into those environments which inspire you, putting yourself in front of that subject matter which stirs something within, and not preconceiving any ideas, not forcing your own objectives, your own visions, your own goals onto nature, but instead just putting yourself within nature and letting nature come to you, letting it show you what it wants to show you. Essentially going in with open eyes, open mind, open heart, and just seeing what speaks to you on that given day. And when you do that, you're just in the present. You're not looking back, you're not looking forward, you're just there as a quiet observer. And if you are fortunate enough, you might be compelled to get the camera out of your bag and trying to maybe interpret what it is you're seeing, feeling, experiencing, and try and express that through a photograph. And in that moment, right there, that exact second that you push that shutter, that's what it's all about. It's not about then how that image might be received by people. It's not about, all right, how do I make this better next time? Because the most freedom and enjoyment is in the experience itself. And the cliche, it's not about the destination, but it's all about the journey, I just think is so true. So wherever you're at with it, you might be struggling with certain aspects, technical stuff, creative stuff, just enjoy it. Especially if you are at that beginner stage, because like I said, at that stage, there's so much more to learn, and you're learning and therefore you're kind of succeeding and it feels great. Once you really dial down a lot of that and you're going through the cycle of photography for multiple years, it is highly enjoyable, but you can also really find it challenging to get that same fulfillment that you had early on. And it's been such a great reminder for me as I really contemplated all this all I had to do was just shake it all off and just go back to that first love, that first passion, which was just getting out here. And when I did that, you know, the new images I've just released, there's about 50. There might have been 15 for the past 5 months just sitting in that folder, maybe 20, something like that. And then in the last month, when I finally just broke free of the aspirations, the goals, the objectives, the ideas I might have had, and I just said, I'm going outside in nature as much as I can, and I'm just going to see what speaks to me. When I did that, I was completely free. And when my mind was free, the inspiration just didn't stop, and I was able to just keep creating day in and day out a variety of different images, whether it was right here looking at those intimate details in the forest, or sitting 7,000 feet up, shooting some aerials at golden hour over the mountains, from one extreme to the next. It all just started to come together, and the times that it didn't come together, it didn't matter, because again, my mind was free and I was experiencing that joy that I had those first years around. So I want you to know that, you know, don't look at someone like me as a professional or anyone else you might look up to and think that that's the goal, that's where you want to get to, because I'm telling you now that every point along the journey is 100% worthwhile and just as satisfying as any other path. It's all about your mindset and the way that you approach your photography. And I think the key, guys, is to don't overcomplicate it, don't overthink it. Just be out in nature. Be out there in the places that you like to photograph. Don't put the photography up on a pedestal. Just put the experience first. And when you do that in a funny way, then the photography all kind of falls into place a lot more organically. Anyway, thank you for letting me have this chat with you guys. Just like I said, it's really been close to my heart the last several weeks. The link below if you want to go look at some of my new work. Thank you everyone that's checked it all out already. This collection here is obviously just one of numerous ones that I've kind of shared over the years, and yeah, I guess this is where I'm at the moment with my photography. I hope you enjoy looking at them, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's video, guys. So take care, thanks for your time, thanks for your support, and yeah, your shares and everything like that. If you enjoyed this, comments, obviously it all goes a long way in just helping the YouTube channel grow, and the more it grows, the more I can dedicate time to still, you know, providing some content for you guys. So it means a lot. Cheers.